Okay, so yes, as I was saying, we are live and we are really excited to be here. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a fun and festive segment for you guys. We are going to be sharing some delicious vegan recipes for the holiday season for Rosh HaShanah. And we are joined by Jewish vegans, just like yourselves, from across the country. From three of Jewish Veg's DC chapter, three of Jewish Veg's chapters. Sorry, I'm from the DC chapter. So this has actually been a really good year, really amazing year for Jewish Veg chapters. Starting last fall, Jewish Veg launched the DC chapter. And then later, I believe the same last fall as well, they launched the New York chapter. And previously, they have a LA chapter that has been around for about 2 years. So it's been a really exciting journey. And I'm Raquel, by the way, I'm the co-chair in the DC chapter. And I can tell you from experience, it's just been wonderful to be a part of it. And the response and the engagement from everyone, from Jewish vegans, has just been amazing. Basically, a lot of Jewish vegans, myself included, kind of had their vegan world, and then you have your Jewish world, and they didn't really connect. And being part of Jewish Veg in the chapter has really connected those two worlds for me and made it so much more meaningful and so much more amazing. So we are joined now, speaking of chapters, by the chair of the New York chapter, who's going to be my co-host for the evening. Dustin, are you there? Hi.
Hi, Raquel. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. As was mentioned, my name is Dustin Hausner. I'm the head of the New York chapter. And before we get into our wonderful group of speakers and presenters, I want to just talk a few moments about Jewish Veg. For those of you who don't know, this year Jewish Veg is celebrating its 45th anniversary. For the past half century, Jewish Veg has been the Jewish voice of the plant-based movement, the fastest growing social movement in the world. Jewish Veg's mission is to inspire and assist Jews to embrace a plant-based lifestyle as an expression of Jewish values, of compassion for animals, care for our health and our environment. Jewish Veg is focused on creating a kinder, healthier, more sustainable world through a holistic 4-tier approach. Immersive personal experiences, engaging Jewish institutions, building community, and leading public campaigns. Jewish Veg actually just launched its latest campaign toward a pandemic-free world to lead a national conversation about the connection between pandemics and animal consumption and help people transition to plant-based lifestyles. For anyone who's interested to learn more, go to pandemicfree.org. That's pandemicfree as one word, .org. As part of Toward a Pandemic-Free World campaign, Jewish Veg started a program called Plant Pathways. It's a wonderful program if you have friends who are curious about a plant-based lifestyle but don't know where to begin because it is challenging for many people. Plant Pathways can help. Go to plantpathways.org. Again, that's one word, plantpathways.org. I want to sincerely thank, before we get into it, of course, our sponsors. So I want to thank VDog as a sponsor and to all of our partners. For those who aren't familiar, VDog makes a complete and balanced vegan kibble, not just nourishing your dog, but gentle on the earth's resources. Pooch tested and plant approved, healthiest. It's the kindest dog food on the market. Now, without further ado, I want to...
Actually, I just want to jump in and say right before we move on that this segment is meant to be interactive. So we want to hear from you guys. So please comment, tell us where you're watching, from where you're watching. Tell us what's going to be on your Rosh HaShanah table this year. And I also want to acknowledge that we did receive quite a few questions from you guys that were submitted beforehand, and we're going to do our best to get to those throughout the segment. So there are quite a few that are the same. Those were repeat questions, so we're going to try to answer those as best we can. And there are also a few shout outs, I believe, that a few people wanted me to shout them out. Do we have those? I think someone from Florida. Yes, so shout out to Joyce, Adriana, and Beverly in Boca Raton, Florida. Hi, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I'm seeing people watching from Tampa, from Cleveland, Ohio, Brandon in Seattle. Just welcome to all of you. This is amazing. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. And with Dustin, thank you for co-hosting with me today. And yeah, I'm excited to hear from our presenters.
No, it's a wonderful honor to be co-hosting with you. If anyone has never seen our previous programs, Jewish Veg has a lot of great programs. You can catch them on our YouTube channel. A number of them star Raquela, as well as Jody, and a lot of other wonderful people that are part of the Jewish Veg family. So thank you for adding the hello and shout out, and obviously about how the questions work. That's incredibly important, so I'm glad it was mentioned. I would like to introduce our first out of many amazing guests for this evening who are going to be talking to us. This person I actually know very personally. I think he's a wonderful person, very knowledgeable. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Rabbi Don Gross. He is the rabbi and founder of Congregation Bet David, the first vegan shul in America. He's also a member of the Jewish Veg Rabbinic Council. So welcome, Rabbi Gross. Good to see you. Oh, hold on. We seem to have you muted. So hold on. Let's just get that. So live TV, everyone. So just give us one moment and we'll fix that.
Okay, I'm back.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here with you guys today.
No, it's our great pleasure and honor. So I would like to, well, first off, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself and tell us personally what it was your journey to being part of the Veg family.
Well, I remember reading articles by Richard Schwartz, who started Jewish Veg many, many years ago. I knew him back in Staten Island when I was a little boy. And I'm so overjoyed to be part of this organization. I started 5 years ago. You can see the sign in the back, Congregation Bet David. And as a vegan myself, I felt that there was a real need to fuse healthy living with Judaism. What a concept, right? I mean, we have over 20 commandments in the Torah that are advising us and legislating how we are to interact with animals. And we all know about the terrible violations that are taking place on a daily basis. And in fact, I translated a book that was put out in Hebrew, which collates all of the 3,500 year Jewish studies, all the rabbinic statements, the Torah statements pertaining to animals and the ethic of actually not eating meat. And so this book is actually coming out. It's finally been printed in English, and it's going to be freely distributed. However, you can download it, on the internet. It's never been, no money is being taken for this, and it's freely available. If anyone wants the link, we can provide that to them. Dustin, you had a couple of questions for me, and.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, I just didn't want to interrupt. I always
not at all. So you had some questions. I wonder what they are.
Very good. It's always so. I want to ask you, for many people, they know Rosh Hashanah on the basic level, but what is the actual historical background behind Rosh Hashanah and the food traditions surrounding it, like apples and honey? Many people, I think of it iconically, but don't actually know the history behind it. So I was wondering if you could do us the honor of telling us a little bit about the history of Rosh Hashanah and some.
Sure, it's actually not an easy question, because we all remember that the Jews, after we received the Torah, we worshiped the golden calf. What happened was Moses went up and down Mount Sinai a number of times because he had a lot of work to do, and that was to get the kapara, get the atonement for the Jewish people. On the third time that Moses went up for 40 days and 40 nights, he went up at the beginning of the month of Elul, which we are in right now. And on the 30th day, which is Rosh Hashanah to us, he found that from all of his praying, all of a sudden, it was like he had, imagine going down a road and you catch every red light, and then you just catch a sea of green, right? So that's what Moses found. Moses found that on the 30th day, all of his prayers started being accepted, and they started really rolling forward with great ease. That was on Rosh Hashanah. It was on 10 days later, which worked out to Yom Kippur, that God said, Salachti kidvarecha, I have forgiven you. And so actually that's how we get Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Now in the Torah it mentions all of the holidays, and uniquely it doesn't call it Rosh Hashanah, it calls it Yom Truah, the day of the sounding of the shofar. And it also says Vasitem lachem. All the other sacrifices that it mentions there, it says you will bring, you will bring, you will bring. On Rosh Hashanah, on the first day, it says you will make. And so our rabbis always say that a person should make themselves new. And the power of the shofar is beautiful because what we do, we proclaim God is our king. We take the breath that was blown into us to give us life, and then we take that breath and we blow into the shofar and we proclaim God king. Now, on Rosh Hashanah, we also we pray a lot. Now, there's something that we all know as when we were kids. It was abracadabra. Do you know that the word abracadabra is actually Hebrew? Avra kedabra. I will create as I speak. Isn't that amazing? So abra kedabra. I will create as I speak. On Rosh Hashanah, we do a lot of speaking. We do a lot of praying, a lot of articulating. It's all about vibration, the power of our mouth, the power of the sounds. We know that the vibration of the foods that we eat, the vegetarian foods or the vegan foods that we eat, is higher. And so Rosh Hashanah is all about creating with our mouths, our throats, making sounds, and of course the actions that we do. It's all about raising the vibration, and this vibration goes out like a stone that you throw in the river. All the ripples go outwards. So when we do good things, when we think good things, when we say good things, we create with our words and with our energy. So this is what Rosh Hashanah is about. And so I want to wish everyone just the greatest, and may love come from expected and unexpected places. May you make good decisions, and may all of the work that we do and all of the good feelings that we put out radiate into our neighbors and out into the world.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Grossberg.
Well, I hope that gives some inspiration, because and as far as the food, yes, I do want to say that. It's really tradition, like we have on Seder night, on Passover, we have a Seder plate. So people have tried to make this tradition of various, different things. Unfortunately, they take animal parts. And this is not a mitzvah. When we are asking for compassion from God, we must do compassionate things. We can't be callous and ask for compassion. So particularly on Rosh Hashanah, when we're asking God for compassion, we doubly have to be acting in a compassionate way.
No, you're absolutely right. And, in a few short moments, we're going to get into some wonderful veg recipes, but just want to personally thank you for telling us some of the history, telling us about the food. And today, luckily, we have so many different substitutions and things you can do. There's even apple, vegan honey. There's all sorts of things. So
exactly.
Many ways.
Remember, abracadabra.
So I'm sure we're going to get some good comments of the group going, what is that? And the other half that's going, okay, this is this. So, but I want to thank you very much, Rabbi Gross, for your eloquence, your knowledge, and it's always a great honor to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Dustin.
So,
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. I would like to bring back actually our co-host, Raquel, who is going to bring us into the next segment. But just want to say, Rabbi Gross is always just a pleasure to listen to. And
I actually had a quick question for Rabbi Gross about the honey. If he knew why, because that's one of the questions that we got repeatedly actually from people that submitted questions online. Why honey? And how did that come to be synonymous with Rosh Hashanah? Like apples and honey, if you know.
Yeah. So it's all about, there are little sayings when people eat things. We should, in particular, this thing about the head, we should be the head and not the tail. So it's just symbology. As far as the year, we've always said, have a sweet new year. When you eat sweet things, then sweet things will happen. And of course, also, the land is blessed with milk and honey. The honey that the Torah is referring to is date honey.
That's true.
So really, that's how, these traditions developed.
So originally it was date honey, and then it later became animal product? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Right, and even the milk, that the land of milk and honey, the milk, the rabbis say, was that the fruit was so robust that it was juicing out as milk would run out of the udder. Yeah, so it's not referring to animal products.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I hope those of you that asked about the honey and how that was a connection got your question answered. Thank you, Rabbi Gross.
My pleasure.
Okay, so please. Let's
jump into some recipes. We're going to share with you guys tonight actually a full menu from appetizer to a main dish to dips to then desserts. So we have everything. We have something for everyone. We are going to jump over to Maddie from DC, who is at the Jewish Vegan on Instagram and socials. And Maddie is going to be sharing with us an appetizer. But Maddie, before that, please introduce yourself to our community. Many of us know you, you're a regular here, but for anyone who doesn't, just take a moment to introduce yourself and also share with us how you got in the vegetable.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Maddie and I'm at the Jewish Vegan on Instagram, and you can also find me at the-jewish-vegan.com. That's my blog. And in terms of my vegan journey, so I went vegan when I was 14, which was 11 years ago. And at the time, my parents were like, what is this? We don't understand this. We don't know how to make vegan food. This is too much for us. And so at that time, I was like, I don't know how to make full meals for myself. I was doing some baking and cooking a little bit. It's kind of like learning a little bit. So I kind of walked it back, compromised, and went vegetarian. So until I was a sophomore in college, I was vegetarian. And then I did a photojournalism project at an animal sanctuary in North Carolina. And at that time, I decided I had to go vegan. And around the same time, I was rediscovering Judaism and how important it was to me. So the two things, veganism and Judaism, have always been really linked for me. Being able to connect vegan food, Jewish food, and finding the ways that those things connect. And then when I graduated from grad school, I started my Instagram. And that was really because a lot of folks, I was making a lot of food for people. A lot of people were saying I can never do this. Your recipes are really cool, but I don't know how to do it. I get stressed in the kitchen. And I really think that food should be fun. It can and should be fun. And so that was one of the reasons that I started my Instagram, and especially vegan food. So, when I first started cooking, it was stressful for me, cooking and baking. And when I first became a vegan, it was stressful, right? Having to read all the labels and figuring out what is and what's not vegan. And so I wanted to make that easier for people.
Your Instagram is amazing. There's a lot of inspiration on there. Even though I've been vegan a long time, I can tell you guys that whenever I'm scrolling through my feed, Maddie comes up with some of the most creative things that I've seen, and uniquely creative. You know what I mean? There's a lot of vegan people on Instagram nowadays, which is a great thing. But Maddie is definitely very creative and very niche to Jewish food. And that's what I really love. So what are you sharing with us today, Maddie? And why did you decide to share this recipe with us?
Yeah, so I am sharing an appetizer, a soup, and it's a roasted butternut squash and apple soup. And I decided to share this recipe because right now I'm actually I didn't grow up really going to high holiday services, really celebrating it with my family or anything like that. And I'm doing a lot of work right now to rediscover Jewish spirituality and what all that means to me. And really what that means to me through like also Jewish culture and Jewish food and like how flavor connects with that. And I wanted to share this recipe in particular because I think I put a lot of intentional thought into like how this recipe connects to Rosh Hashanah. So it has like a very subtle sweetness to it because of the apples. There's no added sugar or anything. Like it's just the apples that make it sweet. And tied to that, so like the apples have a sweet New Year kind of thing. But tied to that is also I have added cayenne pepper to it. So there's like this spiciness to it. And for me, that really represents the, like when you go to services on Rosh Hashanah, like the idea behind the shofar blowing. So I'm in this deep dive high holiday class right now. And one of the things we've talked about is how the month of Elul can be a month of like remembering and reflecting on what you've learned and, you know, the mistakes you've made in the past year. And then one way to interpret the shofar blowing is that it's a way to kind of awaken from that, awaken from the remembering you're doing so that you can move forward and take action now. And so this spiciness is supposed to be like, now it's time to awaken and move forward into the new year. So that's kind of what I was imagining as I was creating this dish. And yeah, I think it's a really good like appetizer, first thing you eat for the Rosh Hashanah.
I love that. I love that. And I love the idea of a soup for an appetizer. I'm a person who's personally chronically cold. And I love the idea of like starting to warm up my taste buds for the meal with a soup and a soup for Rosh Hashanah. I love that idea. So let's jump into your video and you are actually going to walk us through it while we watch it.
Yeah. So this is just showing how to cut the butternut squash. You cut off like the ends first. I want to show this because some people like don't know how to do it. So you cut the ends off first and then you cut it like where the different parts meet, like there's a wider base. And then after you cut that part off, you'll scoop out all the seeds and everything. And then once all the seeds are scooped out, you can actually roast the seeds just so you know, and like it makes a nice snack. You're just going to cut it in half. The base you can cut in half as well and then cut it into pieces too. And then you just chop it into like 1-inch pieces. So it's not too hard to do, but I wanted to give a good example of it. And then you're going to take your gala apples, you're going to peel them all. And then you'll do kind of the same thing, cut them into 1-inch pieces. And then after they're all chopped up, you're going to cover all those pieces that you've chopped up with oil, salt, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then put them on parchment paper line trays and put them in the oven. You might have to use 2 trays because it's a lot actually. And then once all that's done, you put them into a blender, probably in batches, and blend until like smooth and creamy. And then you're going to add garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne, a little bit of salt, and 4 cups of water. Oh, and a little bit of pepper. And really just, stir it until it's smooth. And then you're going to heat it, get it to like a simmer, and simmer it for like 10 minutes. And then once it's done, I also have like a cashew cream with the recipe that you can put on top, like a savory cashew cream. And then it's done. Like this is a super easy recipe. You just really roast it and then heat it up. So yeah, and that's on my website.
Wow, that looks amazing. And actually, I mean, when you first said soup, I was like, okay, because we got a couple of questions from people asking about recipes. Wow, look at that. That looks beautiful. Asking for recipes that are simple, or if you're like, you live alone or you're single or whatever, are easy to do. And this is surprisingly easy. I mean, from what you just showed, basically you roast everything, am I right? Yep. And then you just blend and cook it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Wow, thank you for that. Did you try it? How did it
I had it all this week. So the good thing about it too, so if you're having like a bigger meal, like you have a big family, or you're doing like a socially distanced kind of thing with more people, it makes like 8 cups worth. So that should be enough for like a bunch of people for like a big meal. Or if you want to do like portion sizes of it, you could like this could be a meal and like have it set for several meals because it's pretty filling. My partner and I ate this for like 4 meals this week for like lunch. So it's like really good, especially with the cashew cream.
Okay, cool. Someone's actually asking you a question, peeling or not peeling? Because I think I noticed in the video when you put it into the blender, they weren't peeled. Like you roasted it with the skin.
Yeah, so you don't have to, you can, it's kind of a preference, but you don't have to peel the squash. Once it's roasted, you like don't need to. You can eat it after it's roasted. And it gets blended up. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. If your blender is not like the best blender, you may want to peel it. But most blenders should be fine as long as it can get smooth and creamy.
Okay, lovely.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Also, this is a gluten-free recipe. Someone said just post like that was posted just now, but this is
that was my next question.
Yeah.
That was my next question. Yeah, as I'm gluten-free and several people that I know and a lot of our community is gluten-free, but that's cool. It's also gluten-free. You said it's low on sugar. So for those who are, watching your sugar intake, it's great as well. So as you mentioned, this recipe can be found on your blog, but just so everyone knows, we will be sending out, Jewish Veg will be sending out a follow-up email with all of the recipes written out with ingredients and the portions that you need to, measurements that you need to create this recipe. So don't worry, this is just kind of like an intro. You will get everything by email later on. So thank you, Maddie, so much for that. If you want to hang on, we'll probably jump back to you if anyone has any questions for Maddie, please go ahead and put them in the comment section.
Sure.
I'm going to actually jump over now to ALICIA. ALICIA, are you here? Hello, ALICIA. You're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you for having me today.
Hi. So ALICIA is joining us from our LA chapter, and ALICIA is going to be sharing with us a main dish, something that you can make. It's really quick and easy, and you can make it as part of your meal for the main course. Before you jump in, please take a moment and share with us a little bit about yourself and how you went veg.
Okay. So I'm ALICIA ALBEK, and thank you again so much for having me. I'm representing today from the LA Jewish Veg chapter. I've been the co-chair there with Brett Truman for the last 2 years. And please check us out for all our past and wonderful events, and hopefully in the near future also. So please get involved. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to keep growing our wonderful Los Angeles-based Jewish vegan community. I'm from Argentina, and my grandparents had a ranch in the middle of the country, and I saw from a very young age how they killed the animals for our supper. And at 4 or 5 years old, I realized that there's something wrong with this picture. But it took me till I was like 21 years old to go vegetarian. At 13, I was already diabetic and overweight and high cholesterol. And once I went at 21 vegetarian, within a year, everything stabilized and got corrected. I was vegetarian for 32 years. And then 6 years ago, I recognized that finally that the dairy and egg industry are just as much, the problem as the meat industry. So I thought I really needed to go vegan. And I started my group, which is called Vamos Vegan. You can find us Instagram, Vamos Vegan, and Facebook too. We're here to inspire, support, and empower you to follow a healthy vegan lifestyle. Traditionally, if you want me to go into that too, Raquela, my father was a Hassan. Yeah. And his name is Mansky. So today's actually his yard side, so I'm happy to do this in his honor. We were, of course, a very traditional and very conservative family, and our menu reflected that. Our holidays meal, of course, were the chicken and the beef and the potatoes and the rice and the typical Jewish fare, the matzo ball soup, the gefilte fish, the chopped liver. And my father, again, was a Holocaust survivor, so he came from Poland. And my mother is from Russian descent, so it's a very Ashkenazi traditional meals. It's been a little challenge veganizing a lot of those comfort foods that we relate to or Jewish holidays, but today it's much easier, and it's actually, we're able, and I've been able to veganize a lot of those dishes, and I'm no chef or cook, but I exert myself a little bit to get there. So not that hard.
You definitely have a very interesting background. With the Ashkenazi side and then being born and growing up in Argentina. How long have you been in the U.S.? And then also, how are you sharing with us today? And why did you choose to share this recipe?
So this is a funny story because, we got to the United States in 1976. One of my favorite and easier recipes are what we call the stuffed cabbage. We have another name in Spanish, but it's stuffed cabbage. So usually you would, heat up or steam the cabbage leaves, and then you would fry the meat with the onions and raisins. So in this case, I used Beyond Beef and mainly organic, most every product. And I decided instead of go through that whole more elaborate way, because I cook with only 3-4 ingredients, so I made it even easier the last few years, where instead of steaming the cabbage and filling it up with all the ingredients, rolling it up, and then putting it in a baking dish with the tomato sauce, I decided to chop everything up and make it almost like a casserole in a way. And you'll see in the video, it's a lot faster and efficient and still tastes great. We ate it all week too because we were preparing for this. It's good.
Hello, I'm ALICIA, and today I'm showing you how to make a very easy stuffed cabbage vegan recipe from the old land. So we're going to start by putting PM in my glass dish here. Now usually you would get a steam the cabbage leaves and then fill it up with the meat and fried onions and more cabbage and the raisin, but I do everything fast. So I only cook with 3-4 ingredients. That works for me. Today we're using Beyond Beef and a lot of organic products. The cabbage is organic, and I found this wonderful organic pasta sauce. So that saves a lot of time too. So what we're gonna do first is put, the cabbage in there. But again, I wanna do everything fast, so I'm just burning my hands. And we're gonna, make a layer of cabbage here. Layer of cabbage. Again, this is very easy stuff. Now what I'm gonna do too is we can do little pieces of meat. And again, today we're using the Beyond Meat. Whatever you like, your favorite soy or pea-based protein. You can do, I guess, other things. But again, I'm doing it very easy and very fast. And now we also have raisins. So I'm going to put raisins there too. Let me show you what it looks like really quick. And now I just fill it up with the tomato sauce. Tomato sauce, we can start in the middle first. So it's just covering the whole thing. And then I'll do the same thing again. So this is what it's going to be looking like. Then we'll put another layer because we want to do everything fast today. And another layer of things. I know things are flying everywhere, which is fine. And I'm putting more meat, either shredded or in little balls. And this is from, my background is from Poland and Russian, so definitely Ashkenazi kind of Jewish dish from Europe. And again, we're going to put it like this. Again, we put the rest of the sauce. Now I'm going to put it a little bit on the outside, because once it goes in the oven, the juices from the cabbage will fill up the dish and make all the sauces combined. You finish it with a little bit more raisins. Woo-hoo. Like that. Again, really quickie. And this is what it's going to look like before we take it to the oven. And okay, so this is what it's going to finish. The finished product is this. Nice, fresh from the oven. Shana tova.
Thank you for that. Super, super easy. Like if if you've never tried to make a vegan recipe, I think you could do that. That looks super easy and super delicious. I think it's interesting how you decided to like layer it. So it's kind of like a stuffed cabbage lasagna sort of thing.
And you can do that with any vegetable, which is great. Just follow that and you can't go wrong, right? It's just a great way to do it.
I love that you have only about 3 or 4 ingredients. So you like absolutely can't go wrong. Someone has a question for you, actually. They ask, how would it taste with using mushrooms instead of the Beyond Meat? Have you tried any variations on it?
Nothing like that, because I kept it to like the basic, recipe. But the mushrooms, you probably want to chop them a little because of the chewiness of it. Maybe smaller sizes instead of long portobellos or anything like that. But I'm sure it's going to be great. You can't go wrong with some pasta sauce, and mushrooms are great, also filled with protein, and it's a great chewiness that some people miss from the meat eating days. So it's a great substitution, I'm sure. Yeah. So I know you were also asking
the raisins together with a.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you were asking with the raisins, Raquel?
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting to me that the raisins together with like cabbage and meat, which is kind of like a salty sweet, like a savory sweet flavor.
Yeah.
That was really interesting to see. Is that the twist that you guys do in Argentina, or where did that twist
No,
come from?
Right. It's an Ashkenazi, traditional dish, really. So it's just to bring the sweetness back to like the, challah with the raisins, just to bring sweetness to your table and to your dish. Yeah, and also on our table, I know we were talking about the honey. I did find honey made from apples from Whole Foods, and we of course use it every year for the last few years.
Yeah, I tried that.
Yeah, and it's really good. And I think there's variation, and of course the date honey, it's easy to find, and other honeys that are coming up with. Also, on our table, we have pomegranates to represent the many mitzvot we have to perform every day. And a new fruit. I try to find every year a new fruit. And here in Los Angeles, California, it's easy to find weird stuff every year. So we get to do that. We have lubia, which is the long string bean to represent a long life. And dates too, and I have figs from my own tree, and everything gets blessed. Also, my husband's Israeli from Iraqi descent, so we do the Ashkenazi and Sephardic costumes. So our 3 grown children get everything, and sometimes we sing songs twice just to represent the Ashkenazi and Sephardic melodies, and it makes for a really long Passover Seder, but that's another event. So I just want to wish everybody a really happy and healthy Shana Tova. Yes.
Thank you so much. I love hearing about everybody's background. My background's also a dual Ashkenazi Sephardic background, and I grew up in Israel. So I know what you're talking about, kind of getting a little bit of both. Thank you so much for sharing that recipe. If any, I see a lot of people are commenting about different variations that you can use if you're maybe not a fan of Beyond Meat, or just want to add a different flavor. It's vegan. You can experiment, try, do different things, whatever works for you. This is a really wonderful, simple recipe. If you're not that experienced in the kitchen, it's pretty foolproof. You'll be able to definitely do it. So thank you for that. If you guys have questions for ALICIA, or if, like I said, we will be sending out the full recipe with the measurements in an email, so you'll have that. Thank you, ALICIA.
Thank you.
I'm gonna jump over now to New York and to Samantha. Hi, Samantha.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Samantha is part of our New York community, and today she's gonna be sharing with us a dip. And Samantha is a raw vegan, am I right?
Yeah, so I'm 80% raw vegan. The rest of the time I try and incorporate more vegan foods. And my husband isn't raw, so I try and get more foods in that way. So
No, me too. I'm 80-90% raw vegan. So I'm excited to see what you're going to be sharing with us. You're actually going to be demonstrating your recipe live.
yes.
And the recipe, it's a dip recipe, right?
Yes. So I do. Should I just like say what I'm making, or?
Yeah, whatever before that, do share with us a little bit about yourself and how your veg journey came about.
Okay, so hi, I'm Samantha. I have been vegan for 5 years. I've been gluten-free for 10. I was diagnosed with celiac disease when I was in high school, and I went through a whole journey of changing up my diet, trying to figure out what made me healthiest. And I realized that cutting out all meat products really helped me. And I came across a lot of vegan YouTubers, especially raw vegan YouTubers, and they helped me a lot transition more into the raw vegan aspect. I use a lot of nut-based products, so if you do have a nut allergy, I recommend not watching this. But I mostly eat a lot of nut-based cashew dips. I feel like that works with a lot of things. I put it on pastas. I put it with, veggies and stuff like that. I'm going to be making a cashew dip right now. So yeah, I have cashews that I soaked overnight. If you want to do it quickly, usually if you take a little boiling water, soak it for a few minutes, drain it. So I have that. This is about half a cup. And then I take apple cider vinegar just to add a little bit of tanginess to it to balance out the sweetness of the cashews. And I do about a shot glass and a half. Trying to make it like a party up in here, just so that it kind of covers it. And you could add spinach, avocado. I typically add, don't have that right now, but I'm going to add green onion. And I chop that up and put that in there. And it just tastes so good. I make it with literally everything. I had an apple honey I'm reading all the comments too. I'm so bad at this. I also have a lemon too that I put in there. I like how this is really good for your immune system, and really, it's just really delicious too. Good for your skin, all that jazz. Does anybody have questions? Because I'm so bad at just talking.
It's really good that you're adding in the lemon and the onion. That is actually good for your immune system. Very relevant right now.
It's really good for your skin too. And again, I have a lot of autoimmune problems. And like we said, you're also gluten-free, right?
I actually have lupus, so pretty similar. Yeah, our immune system problems are pretty similar.
Gluten-free is the way to go. So I do that. Nutritional yeast to make it like a cheesy flavor. I love nutritional yeast. It's really good for, vegan people trying to transition into veganism. If you need like a cheesy alternative, this is definitely it. And go crazy, I just sprinkle it all in there.
And this is something that would go really well, I think would pair really well with roasted carrots, which is a traditional dish for Rosh HaShanah. So I feel like this could be a really good addition to roasted veggies on the table.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. It's the perfect amount of sweet and tanginess that goes with honestly everything. I eat it every single day. My husband's obsessed with it. He always asks me to make it. I'm also putting dill in it. If you have fresh dill, it usually works a lot better. I go crazy with dill. I love dill. It's also good with the Mediterranean vibes, Yeah. And I just go crazy. I don't really have a specific amount that I put in. It depends on what you like, Exactly. A dash of salt and onion and garlic powder. You could also use roasted garlic too. Roasted garlic is delicious in this. I also sometimes do roasted red pepper.
That sounds great, yeah.
Yeah. And it's literally so delicious. So this is the garlic. And if you want to make it a little bit a little bit of a spice, you could also add roasted red pepper and just do a few flakes of that. and some salt and pepper to taste. And you blend that up. Movie magic.
Wow, beautiful.
I also like to add, just to make it look like pretty, these are finger limes from Miami Fruit. So they're also called caviar limes.
Wow.
As it goes all over my laptop. Just to make it look like nice and pretty. Yeah. And
Wow,
that's
cool.
what I make all the time.
Well, thank you for sharing. Sharing live. That's a feat.
Yeah.
Do if this is incorrect, go ahead and correct me, but I think you went on the vegan birthright.
I did. Okay.
Tell me about that for a second.
It was the best experience.
If I could go, I would go.
It was the best experience of my life, and I'm actually trying to be to do a staff trip. I'm trying to go as a staff member. So I did that 3 years ago, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to do birthright with all of my allergy restrictions. And all birthright, by the way, is incredible with allergies. Israel itself is incredible for veganism. Yeah, you were saying you're from Israel, right?
Yeah.
So they're incredible with all allergies. When I went to Spot, especially, the whole place is gluten-free. It's incredible. So it was the most incredible food journey, spiritually, educationally, I've ever done, and I cannot wait to go back. So everybody check it out.
Yes, to anyone who is in the birthright age range, please check that out. It could actually be a wonderful way to transition and get a solid introduction into veganism, into connecting veganism with your Judaism. So
you also learn a lot talking to vegan rabbis as well as we were before, and we have a lot of Jewish vegan panels with rabbis talking about how we can incorporate veganism more into Jewish culture, which is very needed in this community. So yeah.
Once, of course, the pandemic is over, then that's an awesome trip that if anybody is in the age range and interested, should definitely check it out. So, thank you so much for sharing, Samantha.
Of course, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So if anybody has questions for Samantha, like I said, again, you can find this recipe will be shared by email with all of you later, and you can also follow Samantha online. What's your handle?
Morticia MUA.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks again for sharing.
Thank you.
So we've had an appetizer, we've had a main dish, we've had a dip, which can go with a lot of sides. Now it's time for dessert. And the recipe that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is something that incorporates the flavors of the season. So apples and spices and those fall flavors, but it's a fun twist. And actually we got a few questions that were submitted about something that can be easy to make for the holiday, kid-friendly and fun. And this kind of fits all of those bills. So what I'm making, what I'm sharing with you guys today is a apple spice cake pop recipe. And what's interesting about it is that the middle has a spice surprise. So if we jump into the video, you'll go ahead and see what I'm doing.
And apple spice cake pops. You want to start by combining your spice filling in a bowl. Next, you want to whisk together your dry ingredients. Add in your wet ingredients. Combine all of that till smooth. Add in your apple chunks or apple pieces, and again combine till smooth. Now if you have one of these cake pop machines, that's great. If not, you can use a mini pan like I'm doing here. So you want to fill it halfway. Place your filling in the middle and then cover it with the rest of your batter. Then you want to place it in the oven and bake at 370 for about 15 minutes. It should look like this. And what you're going to do is dip it into your date syrup, just a little bit, like this. And then into the remainder of your spice filling. Now you can dust with powdered sugar or, healthy option, grated walnuts or cashews. And here's the finished product. They turned out great. Enjoy! Chag Sameach!
So yeah, that's my dessert. The entire thing takes 30 minutes. It takes about 10 minutes to prep, believe it or not. And then it cooks for about 15 minutes. You know, give a little bit of time here and there for errors. So the entire thing takes 30 minutes and you have delicious cake pops. My daughter put it through a taste test and it's kid approved. So, and it's also, I used date sugar, and you can easily make it gluten-free. I have done it gluten-free before. This particular one was not gluten-free, but you can easily make it gluten-free. And I use date sugar, so it's not, it's not high on the sugar level. And another thing I wanted to mention is the little mini pans. I was blown away. Like if you have, because a lot of people don't have that cake pop machine that I actually got because my daughter and I are making a lot of fun cake pop stuff. So you can easily do it in those little mini pans. And if you pull it right to the top, it'll actually pop up like that. And then you can easily stick them on the sticks and it's the same thing. Super easy and really pretty and very kid friendly. So that's my dessert recipe. What are some of you guys making for desserts? I saw earlier people saying that their Heidi actually was making challah while she's watching us, gluten-free challah. Actually, some of you asked questions about gluten-free. There it is. Hi, Heidi. She is making gluten-free challah while she's watching us. Chag Sameach. We got actually a lot of questions about gluten-free desserts and gluten-free food in general. There's a lot that you can do and substitute to make things gluten-free. I actually, at the Vegan Maven online, do a lot of gluten-free recipes. Samantha mentioned she does a lot of gluten-free recipes as well. There's also the Gluten-Free Vegan, also another Samantha in DC that focuses exclusively on gluten-free stuff. And on Jewish Veg's website, you can actually also find some recipes that are gluten-free. So there's a lot of gluten-free options that are out there and a lot of gluten-free people in our community. And if you guys are members of our Facebook groups in any of our communities, so either the DC, LA, or New York chapters, please, when you make stuff, share the recipes with us. We want to know. We want to find new things and try new things and taste new things. So please, if you're making something and it's gluten-free or it's SOS-free, I know there's some people out in the community that are SOS-free as well, please share your recipes with us. We want to hear from you. So that's our menu. I hope you guys like the recipes that you saw. Let me try to take some of the comments. Dustin, are you there? I want to jump back to my co-host.
Yes, hi. So wonderful job. Obviously, each person did wonderful recipes. Some of them I've tried, some of them I look forward to trying, hopefully this year. So we do. Say again?
Which one have you tried?
So I've done actually the first one, the soup recipe. So I've had that before. It's always a very delicious taste. So it's one that I have not just for Rosh HaShanah, but actually throughout the year. So that's one I'm particularly excited to have in the future. And then the other ones I've had the cabbage before, but I'm never quite with those ingredients. So I'm really excited for that. And then Samantha's at the end. I've never had that. And I love the little lime caviar at the end. That was really interesting. So I've never had that.
That was really cool.
That was really cool. So, and then of course yours looked absolutely delicious. And as someone who has a kid myself, I always appreciate when a dish is kid friendly. So I do appreciate that.
My daughter literally ate half the tray already. Like I had to stop her and say enough cake pops. What's going to be on your holiday table this year?
Well, actually, this year it's a mystery for me. The reason is because my wife and mom have agreed to do a whole vegan thing for everyone because everyone else in my family doesn't eat like veg or plant-based. So they decided to try something new this year by making it accessible to me for everything and for everyone else in the family. So they're leaving it as a surprise, though I have hinted at a number of recipes that I thought they would enjoy. So I'm really excited for that. How about yourself? What are you planning for this year?
I'm planning probably something with potatoes. I like a lot of roasted dishes. I like the roasted veggies. I like to do roasted potatoes. Obviously, the cake pop recipe will be on my table. And apples and date, as I said, I'm mostly raw vegan. So the apples and date syrup, are really big as well. By the way, I wanted to ask all of you guys, what do you do? How do you do your apples and honey? Is it dates? Do you do agave? Do you do maple syrup? What do you do? Anybody?
No, it's an.
Good?
No, I was just going to say I do a mixture of agave, and also I know there's plenty of apple syrup substitutes that people use for honey, so it kind of does the double whammy of the apple and the sweetness. There's a couple of different brands out there. You can find them online, but those are kind of my two. But yes, if any of our panelists would like to jump in and say what their
Samantha,
thoughts.
Maddie, Alicia,
have
anybody?
one.
How do you do apples and honey?
So I actually do a date paste myself. Like I soak dates overnight or, for a couple hours. And then I put a little bit of cinnamon, vanilla extract, and a little bit of homemade almond milk and blend that up. And that's incredible with apple. Yeah, it literally tastes like an apple pie or like apple with like caramel on top. Oh my God, it's to die for.
She's right. I've tried making date syrup myself before. It is so delicious. Like it's so smooth and it's so flavorful. It's different than when you do store-bought stuff. It's really
Dates are very undervalued. Like I feel like more people need to bring dates into their diet. They're so delicious.
And they're super good on fiber. Like one date is all you need. It's really versatile. Like you can put it in baking. You can even put it in salads. You can put date pieces into salads with some vegan feta. Like it's a really versatile fruit. What about you, Maddie?
Can you restate what the question was? I missed it.
How do you do your apples and honey?
Oh, sure. So actually this year I made a homemade vegan honey from scratch, which uses brown rice syrup or it's a rice syrup basically, and maple syrup. And then I've also added some, I cooked it with orange slices and lemon slices for like a little bit of a citrusy flavor, which kind of like caramelized them, which I got to eat after, which was really nice. But it turned out like exactly like honey, which was really good. Like the consistency was like honey, and the flavor was really close. So that's going to go up in one of my posts that I have. I'm actually doing that. So that's going to go up in my honey cake post for homemade honey.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's good. I found this one years ago, but I understand that they might not. It's called honey. Which way is it? Or honey bee free, like bee free honey, and it's made from apples. But yeah, we haven't seen it for a while. But I got so excited, I got a bunch, so I still have some left.
Wow.
But also agave, it's great. There's also coconut syrup that it's a great sweetener.
Yes.
And, back to Ceylon, which is the date syrup, and that's easy to find in a lot of Persian or Israeli markets. And even the regular markets, at least here in Los Angeles, we get to find so many wonderful products. Even in our local market, there's so many new vegan products of anything, so just go and check out your local markets for anything that you can substitute or start using new. It's a wonderful adventure.
I personally, like I said, love the date syrup. I have tried the apple blossom stuff. It tastes really good. And I find it's kind of interesting, like I'm eating apples with apples. So that's kind of an interesting textural flavor. So I want to take a few questions. I see people saying that they do agave, some people saying they love maple. I used to like maple a lot, and then I think I kind of transitioned over to the date, and date became kind of my staple. I did want to say, for those of you that like Samantha's recipe, but are not free, a good substitution actually that is nearly, undetectable is potatoes.
Yes.
You boil an Irish potato, and then you cream it in the blender, and then you have the creamiest sauce. I use it for pasta. I mean, I'm not nut free. I love nuts. I probably eat too much nuts, but I do have some friends that are not free and completely like they can't eat tree nuts or anything like that. And
when you do soak cashews overnight, it pretty much does taste like a bland potato. So
yeah, it's very
similar.
Very similar.
I tried that.
It's very similar. And I'll add in, I'll boil the potatoes, like an Irish potato, I'll just peel it and then boil it. And I'll add in a carrot or two to add some colors and to add kind of a flavor. Believe it or not, if you add in a carrot or two together to a nutritional yeast, you actually get the flavor of cheddar. because they add beta carotene, which is carrots, into cheddar cheese. So you get that same flavor. So that's a great substitution for the people that are asking about nut-free substitutions for the dip. I'm definitely going to try that dip because I love cashews and I love
eat it every single day, literally.
And like I said, all of the recipes sounded amazing. Let me see if we have any questions. Wow, people are watching from all over. Hi,
So cool.
Some raw vegans here. Do you have a YouTube channel, Samantha?
No, I do not. However, I am going to be starting one, so stay tuned. If you go to my Instagram, not food related, but I will be starting one up very soon.
Okay, some people were asking if you had a YouTube channel because they were raw vegans. So
Very good.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
Stay tuned.
Oh. So thank you all again for joining us and for sharing your delicious recipes and your veg journeys. Dustin, thank you so much for co-hosting with me. And before we go, I do want to mention some of the things you heard from Dustin. For recipes, you can always check out Jewish Veg's website and also follow all of these wonderful people in our vegan community. And if you are a new vegan, please check out Plant Pathways, which is Jewish Veg's new program that is also going to be full of recipes and fresh new ideas whenever you need something new and want to try something new. And this holiday season, don't forget your pets. If you have dogs, I know a lot of people, I personally have bunnies, but a lot of people have dogs out there. Don't forget your pets. Our sponsor, VDog, has lovely vegan treats. In fact, they have this one that's a very fall flavor that I think could be a great addition for the holiday season, for the fall season. It has like pumpkin and spices in it. And actually, if you look through their ingredients, I feel like humans could eat it because they have just like such clean ingredients. It's literally like veggies, herbs, and spices. So I don't have a dog, but it sounds really delicious. And if you have a dog, please check them out.
I just learned about this today, and I'm about to hop right onto that website because I think that is the coolest thing on the planet. So,
do you have dogs?
I do have dogs. Yeah, I have a Great Dane and I have a Golden Retriever, and I know they would love that.
Raquel, before we jump off, one of the questions that was asked that was not necessarily food related, but it asked about veganizing Rosh HaShanah, because obviously there's a lot of different traditions. So one thing I just wanted to quickly mention and thought would be appropriate is I have a number of plastic shofars, which, as I mentioned,
Thank you for sharing.
Blowing on them. And the best part is, for anyone who's ever blown a shofar, you know it could hurt your lungs. You're just trying to blow out of these things. The nice thing about these is they have like a little whistle inside, so it's literally very, very
Wow.
so
I
highly
love
that.
an alternative. And just wanted to just echo what Raquel said.
Where can we find that?
So you can find these pretty easily on Amazon, Google, eBay. There's a couple of different websites. So they're a lot cheaper than a traditional shofar, I promise you. So they're very easy. They come in a few days. So highly recommend the plastic shofars. They're not necessarily kosher, but it's a lot better for the animals. And obviously it's a lot easier to blow into. So just wanted to throw that into the mix.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I actually had never heard of that so far. Thank you. I learned something new. Okay, let me just make one last check of any questions that we missed. I don't think so. People are loving the plastic shofar. Thank you for mentioning it. Yes, it's really dope. Okay, thank you guys all for joining us and for sharing and for being here. And thank you to our community for participating. This was wonderful. Chag Sameach, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
and live cruelty free.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Always.
Defend the animals.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Absolutely.